All right, everybody, we have an exciting product review today. It's a compact pair of binoculars from SVBONY, and they're the SV202 8x32 binoculars. So without further ado, let's get these unboxed real quick. All right, so I have my little over-the-head setup over here. I'm gonna see how this goes. So they come in this nice box, and admittedly, I have opened this box already, so not everything might be exactly where it was. There was probably some plastic. I'm gonna throw that box over there. But they come in this nice carrying case, which is obviously really good for your binoculars. You want to be able to carry them in something. Also included is your instruction manual, a cleaning cloth, which I love a good cleaning cloth, and then a neck strap as well, which I don't use neck straps, so I'm not going to take this out of the bag. Opening up the binoculars, the SV202 compact 8x32 binoculars. They look pretty sleek, pretty clean. Turn dial. They've got the covers here and the pop-offs there. But let's come back to the main setup and talk about them real quick. All right, so here are the SV202 8x32 binoculars. Now, just some specs for you real quick. They have ED optical glass, which means there's lower chromatic aberration and color distortion. If you don't know what aberration is or color distortion is, it's kind of that rainbow fringy color on the outside of whatever you're looking at through the binoculars. ED optical glass helps reduce that. The second thing is they're wide field of view binocular, hence the 8x. The nice thing about that, it means your subject's going to be a lot more stable out in the field. They also have an IPX7 waterproofing to them, so they have this rubbery material to the binocular that, you know, if it's raining on you or dumping rain on you, they should be totally fine to withstand that. They also have back 4 prism glass, which is supposed to be clearer and a brighter image. And like I mentioned before, these covers come off. If you don't like these little eye pop out thingies, what I do when I get out in the field is I just pull them off. So these ones just come right off. And then if you don't have glasses, which I'm not wearing glasses, you pop out your eyepiece so they cup around your eye a lot better. If you do have glasses, you keep these here, and then you just put this up to your glasses. It'll give you a better view. I do want to mention that they did send me 8x32 binoculars because I wanted something more compact to carry around myself. In birding, what's typically recommended is an 8x42 binocular or a 10x42. SVBONY also has both of those available on their website in the exact same, basically the exact same pair of binoculars. You might be wondering, what does the 42 and the 32 difference have from one another? Well, the second number in the binoculars indicates the diameter of this opening right here. So a 32 millimeter diameter, which is what these are, means that it's going to let in less light out in the field. The colors are going to be a little bit duller. The light's going to be a little bit less. That 42 millimeter diameter means that the binoculars are going to be bigger. So you're not going to have compact pair of binoculars like this with a times 42. They're still going to be pretty small, but not as compact. You can see the size of my hand here and the binocular. They're very compact, and the brightness is going to be higher on a 42 millimeter diameter. So anyways, let's go out in the field and give these binoculars a quick test.
So I've actually been using these for a couple weeks now, and there's a lot of things I really like about these binoculars, but let me show you kind of how they look. I'm using this special tool called a tridapter. It'll attach to the binoculars. My phone will attach to it, and I'll be able to film through the binoculars. Just remember that the image that you're seeing on screen is not going to be as clear as the image that these binoculars actually give out. So let's see what we got. We got a common golden eye out on the water. Just popped up out there. Also, you'll see that the image is really shaky. There's no stabilization in my phone, or at least not as much as my Nikon has, hence the shake. So that's on me, that's on my hands. I'll show you what it looks like with the shake first, then I'll show you some stabilized footage of the same bird, which we'll just zoom it in a little bit more and stabilize it in post. We also got some mallards out in the water. That's not unexpected for first dam. Pretty cool. Got some Canada geese out here right now. Lots of them. There's several groups of pretty much all of these birds out here right now. But yeah, I'm going to throw on a time lapse of me just scanning. I'm going to do some actual birding while I'm here. Might as well, right? Count up all these species and put some birds up on camera for you guys to enjoy from the binoculars. And then I'll bring you some thoughts in the field and then some final thoughts back at home. All right, so after using them for a couple of weeks, what are some things I like about these binoculars? But first, let's talk about some things that I don't love about these binoculars. And honestly, this list is pretty short. One of the things I don't love about these binoculars is that they're 8 times 32. Typically with birding, the standard is 8 times 42 or 10 times 42. And that 42 number dictates how much light enters into these binoculars. So you're getting a little bit less light into the binocular when you're looking through it. And the colors are just a little bit more muted and the picture's just a little bit less crisp and clear. It's not totally a deal breaker because there's some things that I really do like about these being 8 times 32 that I'll talk about in a minute. The second thing that I struggle with these binoculars, sometimes when I'm looking through them, and I'm not sure if this is user error or if this is just how binoculars are, the black on the edges kind of creeps into my eye if I don't place the eye at a perfect spot in the binocular. I'm not exactly sure why that is, and I've had this happen with other pairs of binoculars in the past, but that's just something that I notice. Now, in terms of chromatic aberration, that's when the color is a little bit warped and you have like kind of that rainbowish color, or the edges of that color are not as crisp as they should be. In terms of chromatic aberration, there's pretty minimal chromatic aberration with these pairs of binoculars, which means that the colors are mostly pretty crisp, and despite that lower light, it's not necessarily blending the colors for you, showing off some like weird stuff. Now, obviously when I look right into the sun, that's a little bit of a different story, but with any pair of binoculars, looking directly into the sunlight is a bad idea. So what are the things that I do love about these binoculars? Well, first of all, because they're 8 times 32, that means they're way more compact. They're extremely compact. In fact, I can fold these all the way and they fit in my jacket pocket. I didn't realize that they would fit in my pocket. So now when I walk to school, I'm gonna have these in my pocket on my way to school. I walk through a cemetery. I'd love to go birding while I'm walking through that cemetery with a pair of binoculars just in case. I'm gonna bring these with me in a lot of places. And because they're so light, because they're so compact, they've actually become my #1 pair of binoculars that I'm currently using right now. They're still big enough where my cotton carrier can attach to it and I can hook it to my hip like I normally do with other pairs of binoculars. But that compactness is actually really, really awesome. I really, really like that. Yes, I've lost some light with these binoculars that I probably would like to have, but it's not a deal breaker whatsoever because these are so much smaller than they would be if they were 8 times 42, for example. So the compactness is something I love. The other thing I love is they're just a sleek pair of binoculars. I mean, they're waterproof, or they're stated as waterproof. This turn dial is really easy to move back and forth, which makes it easy for focusing in and out on the birds. These are going to be my primary pair for a while at this point, but let's head back to the studio and just talk about my final thoughts on this pair of 8 times 32 binos.
All right, so just some final thoughts here. I actually love this pair of binoculars. They don't pay me anything to say or have an opinion about things. They do send me these products for free sometimes. In this case, they did. And I really do appreciate that. But I get to say what I want about these things. And honestly, I really do enjoy this pair of binoculars. I would also consider these binoculars and the other pairs as well. The 8 times 42 is only like $20 more expensive. So if you don't want a compact pair of binoculars, you can get yourself the fuller size. They're all under $200, which I would consider a steal. It's a budget pair of binoculars and the quality is really, really good for that price. So it gets a green check mark from me. That price is really something that stands out to me. I think the quality is really, really good for that price point. Honestly, overall, I think they'd make a very good pair that you could put in your car. You could carry with you on those trips where you don't want to be lugging around your main pair. Or, like me, you could main these 8 times 32 out in the field, and I think you'd be really satisfied with that choice. So let me know what you think down below in the comments of the SVBONY 8 times 32 SV202 bins. Let me know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you all next time on Bright-Eyed Birding.